Death is a part of time that happens while you're still alive. When your biological body stops functioning, then death is over, as life is over. And it can take months, weeks, days, So this process of death, these days of death, they are the most important. So that we should take care of them.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Yellow Van Stories. I'm your host and driver, Bastian. We have been waiting just for you and kept you your usual seat by the window side. Also because technically there are no other seats. So feel free to order any imaginary beverage that strikes your fancy. Fonzie is in first gear already and we are good to go. So buckle up and get comfortable because today we're going to remain in Brazil a little longer. Here with me today is Mabel Krieger, a psychologist from Rio de Janeiro, who has started a choir during the time of the pandemic in her hospital, an online choir that works through remote calling, I believe. And we will talk to Mabelle about that and about the situation that she, to describe a little bit her situation in Rio de Janeiro right now. So it's a great pleasure for me to have Mabelle here. Hello, Mabelle. Thanks for joining us in the Yellow Van.
Hi there, Bastian. Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure for me. I'm very thankful for the invitation to be able to have this startling debut in the international media.
Wow, that's sounding very good already. I have to say, very nice, very nice. I'm very glad you see it that way. Fantastic. That's a good starting point, if you ask me.
Sure, but I'm very glad to be here with you.
Very, very nice. I'm very glad to hear that. So, the first question always, and the most important question of all, obviously, is like, what drink did you pour yourself today?
Okay, as I told you before, I'm still in bedtime because Sundays are very lazy days for me after the week days of hard work in the hospital. So,
and like I told you as well, for me as well.
Yeah, so I'm still having coffee. Today our conversation...
That's nice. So what's your time?
Yeah, we are, let me check, we are 2:30 in the afternoon.
2:30?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm having coffee.
That's totally understandable. I would handle it the same way. My only excuse in this case is that I am already 5 hours ahead and it's 7:30. So I can have a drink, I think, without having too much of a guilty conscience, even though I don't ever have one anyway.
Okay.
But
it's already
just to
time.
Exactly. Just to keep appearances, I had to say that. But so I'm having, in honor of you being my guest and your whereabouts and your home, I poured myself a caipirinha. I have to be honest, though, as I was about to make it, I realized, wow, I did use up the last limes. So I did not have any fresh limes. I did it with lime juice, good lime juice, though, that I still had in the fridge. And I improvised a little, but it didn't turn out too bad. It's very drinkable. And it does indeed remind me a little bit of caipirinha, which I think is a good thing. Yes.
Okay, you know that next time we meet in person, you have to pour us one of your special caipirinhas that you've been making there, because you're going to become a specialist.
While I was not banking on that, but yes, now that you are calling it out, I think I have to be. I wouldn't call it a specialty, to be honest. If you give me the choice, I would prefer actual limes to just, smash them a little bit in the glass. But okay, we can have maybe both, and then you be the judge of what's better. Okay. I think that's a nice challenge. I think we should do that.
Sure.
All right. So after covering the alcohol or non-alcohol situation, I'd like to know, where are you right now?
Well, I'm having coffee from the breakfast in bed. So I'm still in my bedroom having my breakfast coffee in bed.
That's a great setting for an interview. Amazing.
Yeah.
I like that. So you're totally relaxed, I hope, at least. It seems to me that way, right?
Yeah. Because this online life that we are leading post-pandemic world, we are always in the bedroom doing reunions, meetings, and interviews. Everybody's in the bedroom, and then they paint a wall of bookshelves behind the bed so that it looks like they're in an office or something like that. But we are always in the bed. Everybody's in the bed in this online pandemic world.
It's kind of like nobody's wearing pants anymore because you only see everybody from the waist on up, So it's kind of like
Exactly.
You do everything in your bedroom, basically.
It's like the guys from the TV news broadcast. They're just wearing the top of the how do you say that? They are just wearing the jacket. No?
Right?
Yeah, the suit, the top of the suit, the jacket of the suit, and then they are always pantless.
Yes. Let's at least hope they wear boxer shorts just for hygiene purposes, because the next guy sitting on the same chair is corona, anyway, opening a whole can of worms. But let's at least hope they wear boxer shorts or briefs or whatever they prefer, no judgment here. All right. Very nice. So I was about to ask you as well about your environment, but you've already described it quite nicely. And what I would like to know, what is your favorite thing in that room? What is the favorite thing in your bedroom?
Oh, I should say it's the bed. I really think I can spend my whole day here with my laptop. I have a tray that carries cake and coffee, and then I have my laptop. I really think I can spend the whole day here.
I have to tell you, that sounds like the perfect office to me. Really, I want nothing else. That's all I need.
Exactly.
And yes, do you have the coffee machine close by, or do you actually have to get up to get new coffee?
No, the coffee bottle is in the tray. I have the coffee mug in my hand and the coffee bottle is in the tray on the bed.
So you prepared like a liter of coffee and you poured it into a thermos or something like that?
Exactly. Because
you come prepared. You come prepared. That's great.
Yeah, because
also,
we rather poured coffee, not espresso or things like that. We love poured coffee. So we how do you say that? We buy the coffee grains and then we grind them.
You grind them. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we pour the coffee on the tissue pourer. And then we put
like
it in
a filter coffee, basically, right?
Yeah, but made of cloth.
Mm-hmm. Ah, okay.
So the coffee is more tasteful because you grind it at the moment you're going to pour it.
Freshly. Yes.
Yeah. And then we pour like a liter of it and then we spend the day drinking it. We are addicted to coffee.
So am I. I have a lot of coffee, so I could have also poured myself a coffee. But like I said, because I'm 5 hours ahead, I thought, I'd pour myself a drink. How do you take your coffee? Milk, sugar?
No, pure.
Pure. You're a purist. Yeah. You're a coffee purist. My word.
Sure.
Okay.
We Leo and I, we are that kind of people that we want to have all the apparatus for coffee making at home, and then we buy the coffee grains and then we drink it pure, and the water shouldn't be too hot because it's going to burn the coffee and this kind of stuff,
So basically what you're saying is you guys are coffee nerds. Come on. You guys are coffee nerds, aren't you?
You're coffee nerds like this, yeah.
But it's good to know that you have a whole flask of coffee there, knowing you're drinking it, because it means I have to really do very badly to make you fall asleep, I think. So this is very good for me already. It takes a lot of pressure off, right? So happy about that. So, like I do with every one of my guests, I have, with your help, I have to say, because I also asked you for your help, in this prepared a little CV with some of your input, and then especially also towards the end, a bit of my own personal view of what I know. And I would read that out to you, and then afterwards you can tell me if you can, if you can subscribe to what I've been writing or
Okay.
not. All right?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Here it goes. Mabel is a Brazilian psychologist working at INCA, Instituto Nacional de Câncer, the National Cancer Institute in Rio de Janeiro. Did I say that like remotely okay, or was that terrible?
No, it was
Just
perfect. It was perfect.
Don't say perfect. Nobody will believe that. Yeah. But it wasn't that terrible, right? It was okay.
No, it was great.
Oh, okay, thanks. Thanks. I know that's not true, but okay. At least people understand what I said. That's good. INCA is a public service within the SUS network. SUS stands for Unified Health System. It's not a single hospital. Actually, it's an institute that behaves as an organ of the health ministry. Meaning INCA not only offers health assistance, but also professional education and research, as well as build public policies in the field of cancer. The Institute has 4 units for direct health assistance. Mabelle works in one of these units where they deal exclusively with palliative care cancer patients, meaning the ones to whom the aggressive treatments have no further benefits because of the advanced stage of the disease and or the frailty of the patient's organism. Mabelle and her colleagues therefore manage symptoms and offer quality of life during the remaining period of their patient's life. Apart from her work as a psychologist among patients and their families, Mabelle also works as a lecturer in the health residence training programs. In the wake of the corona outbreak in Brazil, Mabelle initiated a hospital choir, performing Brazilian music via remote call technology, bringing the staff together to participate in the life-affirming expression of song and celebration of human tenacity. And a celebration of human tenacity, to me, that is. I met Mabelle on the beautiful island of Crete during the film festival of Yarapetra that she was attending with her husband and filmmaker Leo Santos, who will also be a guest on the show. Mabelle has one of the most resounding laughs I've ever come across, melting all ice. It is my absolute pleasure to have her on the show today and hope that she will share some of them with us today. So welcome aboard the Yellow Van, Mabelle.
Thank you very much. I'm really touched by this description. I couldn't say anything better than you did just about this you just made.
Thank you very much. In all fairness, 3/4 of that, like exactly the factual background of everything, came from you. So I mean, so just to keep my profile a little under the wraps here. So yes, it is absolutely wonderful to have you here. And I have usually also a few other questions ahead, but because we ended on that, can you explain to me? No, actually, sorry. Let me start off a little bit earlier to get a bit of a context, and then we move on to the choir.
Okay.
Have you, like, what I also asked, and this is something that I'm having the choir in mind as well now as well. Have you come across a piece of art, a song, a photo, a film, something that has deeply moved you lately, where you're like, wow, that was really something that touched me?
Yeah, actually, this week I was watching. It's going to sound very silly, but it's not something new. Actually, it's something very old from 1992. I was re-watching the MTV presentation of Pearl Jam in the acoustic MTV from 1992, and
wow.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah.
And Pearl Jam was my band from
Love that.
When I was a teenager and with my friends. And when they first came to Brazil, they came first in Brazil, I think it was in 2006. And me and my friend, I was already older now, but me and my friends, we arrived at the concert place like at 2:00 in the afternoon, and the show was like at 10.
Yes. 10 at night. You were very excited, understandably so, of course.
Yeah, because it was the first time they were coming to Brazil, and after that, all the times they came to Rio, I went to the show. I didn't go to all the concerts in the country because they went to other states, but In Rio, I went to all of their concerts, and actually this week I was touched and moved about things that happened in the workplace, in my work at the hospital. And these days we are living all these changes that the pandemics brought us, and everybody's very emotional. And I think like things like are in the surface of the skin. I don't know if you have this expression in other languages. We say that when the emotions are too intense, we are feeling them in the surface of the skin. We say that in Portuguese. So
That's
I
a
was
nice
feeling
expression.
this way. Yeah, we actually we say that it's
It
in
gets
the,
under your skin. Could you
yeah.
maybe say it like that in English? But it's not the
I
same, right?
I think it's not the idea of under, it's the idea of surface, because we even use the term flower. We say that it's in the flower of the skin,
Mm-hmm.
like something that blossoms. The idea of flower is
Wow.
something that blossoms. So it's in the surface of the skin, like something that's coming from inside, and now it's blossoming.
And grows out. And
Yeah,
grows out of the inside and shows itself. Ah, wow. Okay.
yeah. So
That's
that's
beautiful.
yeah. I like this expression very much. In Portuguese, we
Can
say
you
a
say it
flor
in
da pele.
Portuguese?
Yeah,
Say that
we
again,
say
please. I have to.
a flor da
A,
pele.
a flor da
A
pele.
a flor da
A,
pele. Flor like flower, and pele
a flor
is
da
skin.
pele.
A flor da
All
pele.
right.
Yeah. So
Very nice expression.
yeah. So I noticed that we are all living this. The feelings are all a flor da pele these days, and I found myself watching this show, this concert from 1992, and it felt like I was taken back to those years where things were much simpler and we have no much worries than finding the last CD from our band or something like that. So it was very cozy to watch this concert. It was something very nice. So it's nothing new, but it was some piece of art that touched me these days. Yeah.
It doesn't always have to be something new. First of all, what a concert. It's where they all still have their long wavy hair, right? And I
Yeah,
remember that very well.
and he fell from the seat where he was. Eddie Vedder got so
Ah, yes.
happy, or I don't know what the word is, with the song that he fell from the seat, and then he tried to pass by the situation. It was very funny.
Ah, that was a great concert. Yeah, but I
Yeah,
mean, totally. I relate to that entirely. Pearl Jam was also one of the great bands of my growing up. Still, I love to listen to them. I don't listen to them as regularly anymore, but I think they're just a great band. I saw them in concert once in Germany, Rock Park, which is one of the biggest rock festivals in Germany, actually in Europe, and they closed off the entire festival, and it was just an amazing experience. Like they played for 3 hours, and they were basically pushed off the stage because all the speakers,
yeah,
all the lights went on, and they would have played for another 1 or 2 hours. I felt for them there
yeah,
was no end. It was just amazing, the energy that they showed. Amazing concert, amazing band. I can totally relate to that. But I think it doesn't always have to be something new either. I think that is the wonderful thing, that you can sometimes revisit something that you have either not listened to for a long time, or even things that you have dismissed for a long time. Also, it doesn't have to
yeah,
be music, but you can revisit them at another point, and you will see something else in them, and they can either become really extremely good or the opposite or something. It is ever changing. Like whatever you think about any artwork, it is constantly in progress. It is never done. Like your appreciation or non-appreciation of it is never done. So in that sense, I think art really is a reflection of yourself more than of the artwork itself.
yeah. And actually, there's also the meaning that piece of art, or that it makes meaning to a certain part of your life, a certain period of your life. And then
Yes.
sometimes you can relive the experience through the connection with this art that marked this period of your life. I don't know
Yes.
if I make myself clear.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, I
It
told you
is.
my English is not the best today.
Your English is great. Your English is absolutely great, and your Portuguese as well, which is even
Oh, yeah,
make it.
I hope so. I hope my Portuguese is quite enough.
Not that I can really be a judge of that, but I mean, what you just showed us of the flowering of the skin. I mean, I'm sold. That's what I'm saying. I love it. I
Okay.
think for me, you're an expert in the Portuguese language now. Just
Oh,
saying,
okay.
right?
Okay.
Yeah. Not that you needed that either, but I'm just putting it out there. No, I can see that, and yeah, beautiful band. And beautiful concert as well, especially. So now you have already mentioned to us that with all the things going on in the hospital right now, and I mean here in Germany where I'm right now, I mean we just see images of what is happening in Brazil. So can you maybe please describe the situation at your hospital at the moment, and also maybe a little bit the general situation in Brazil for us right now?
Yeah, I have a very specific reality in my hospital because we are not a general hospital. So we deal with a very specific kind of treatment that is palliative care for cancer patients. So I think that we are the edge of the edge when you think about healthcare. Especially in our structure, there is the SUS that we call. You described it before, like
What I call
SUS.
SUS, right?
Yeah,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
We call it SUS.
So it's
So
let me just quickly go back, the unified health system. So the basic
yeah,
unified Brazilian health system, right? And
yeah,
everything that goes
exactly.
with it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very similar to the NHS in the United Kingdom. Because
Mm-hmm.
actually it was even based a little bit on the NHS, but actually it's more, it's broader. It gathers
Mm-hmm.
more people. Actually, if you come to travel to Brazil and you're here for the first time in your life, and then you're here in Rio, and then you get hit by a car, and then I don't want it to happen, okay? So it's just hypothetical. So
Yeah. Yeah. Let's go with that for now. Exactly.
okay, not you. Someone comes to Brazil and then it's here traveling from abroad and gets hit by a car.
But I got
And
that, by the way. I didn't. I realized you didn't wish that upon me. By the way, no problem. So we can easily move on. No problem.
okay, but just what I want to tell is that if something happens to you or to someone that's coming from abroad and you are unconscious, you don't have any way to decide to which hospital you're going or something like that, you're going to be assisted by the SUS system, and there's going to be a public ambulance that's going to find you on the streets and take you to a public hospital, and you spend the amount of time you need to spend there, and there's not going to be any kind of bill reaching you at home 3 months later. You're just going to
Wow.
have the assistance you need. Okay, so it's universal.
That is a fantastic idea. Yes,
Yeah,
amazing. Mm-hmm.
the idea of SUS is that it is integral, meaning that you're going to reach all the spheres of care, of health care, the basic health care, meaning family care and prevention care. It also deals with the policies for public health and our agency for would be we call it Anvisa. It's like the similar of FDA in the United States, Food and Drugs Administration.
Food and Drugs Administration. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
We have a similar agency here called Anvisa. It also belongs to the SUS. So our system regulates all, it's integral, meaning that it reaches all the spheres of healthcare, and it's universal, meaning that it is for everybody. Literally everybody. I've had patients from Angola in my hospital. I had patients from Uruguay in my hospital. So it's literally for everybody that is in the country, in Brazilian territory.
That's really
So
how you
the
want
idea,
a health system to work, really. If I think
yeah,
about it, I mean, this is just how it actually should be, to me, just on paper, at least.
yeah. Actually, I tell people that I'm a Suzette, like the the cheerleader for the SUS system. You know, I'm a Suzette
You're a crêpe
because
Suzette.
yeah.
Sorry,
Okay.
that just came to mind. I saw that on a menu the other day. Anyway. Okay.
Okay, I
Yes.
deserve it because I'm trying to translate Brazilian jokes for English. So I'm trying to translate Portuguese jokes for English, so I deserved it.
No, but I
I
think it
should
totally
have said
works. Like a crepe is sweet, and then Suzette, so it just kind of, it entails everything you are, basically. Anyway, that was a very failed attempt at a compliment. So we should just try and gently move on. Yes.
okay. Okay. But no, what I'm saying is that I defend SUS, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
I think the project, it doesn't work as well as it should, but I think it's the best project of healthcare system in the world, literally in the world. I think we have the best idea for a healthcare system compared to any other option that, but in this logic, in the SUS logic, we have the three spheres of care. We have the basic care with family care, with small health clinics in the neighborhoods that will deal with the minor health issues, with minor health problems, with prevention and vaccination and things like that. And then we have the medium care, the big hospitals and specialized treatments. And then we have the highest level of care. There's the very specialized kind of healthcare, like cancer care. You have.
That's where you are, right? Where you work.
Yeah, that's where I am. And actually, I am in the specialized of the specialized. We have because then inside this sphere of cancer care, of high level health care, we have the palliative care specialized in cancer. So it's the specialized of the specialized, So this is a very peculiar reality. So when I made this huge introduction to answer the question you made me about.
No, but rightfully so, because it's good to have context, of what you're saying. So I'm glad that you are doing this. And I think it is also important to understand this, because one of my ex-girlfriends, she used to work in palliative care, and I really know how difficult it is and can be. And what an important job you're doing, though, for society as well. At the same time, not getting the valuation from society as well for what you are doing. So I understand that. So it's very good that you're setting up the story with a bit of context. So please continue. Yes.
Yeah. And even inside palliative care, you have the different types of palliative care. So we have palliative care in geriatrics. We have palliative care in heart disease issues. We have palliative care in cancer disease. So that's where I am. And actually, I was introducing all of this just to tell that the reality I see inside my hospital, it's not the general reality that all the other hospitals or other healthcare centers, they will not share the same experience as we are living there, because we have a very specific profile of patients in our hospital. So, well, now about the pandemics, when it all began, the idea we had, because the formal informations we started to receive the informations from COVID-19, it said that the most vulnerable people were the elderly and the ones with a I don't think I will say this word in English. There are some things that I try to say, but I think I'm saying that in Portuguese.
Okay.
Previous conditions.
Yes.
Yeah.
The what?
Previous health conditions. I think it's easier this way. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was trying to say
Better
something.
than the Portuguese term, because I would probably be a bit lost with that, unfortunately, I think. But yes, so previous health conditions that play into the disease, into how people are affected by cancer, basically.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with this information from the beginning, we thought that our cancer patients, none of them would survive coronavirus disease, COVID-19, because
Sorry, what I just said wrong. Yes, obviously people having cancer and their previous conditions. Yes,
exactly, exactly. And not only cancer, but advanced cancer, non-treatable cancer. As you see, the median of life expectations of our patients is 2.5 months.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, we have, this is the medium. So we have patients living there, being treated there with us for 5 years, 6 years. But we also have patients that have a week of life expectancy. So the medium between those things, those edges, is like 2.5 months. But when we saw the pandemics reaching us, we thought, oh my God, our patients are all going to die. And they are all going to die in a situation that we still don't know what to do about. So if one of our biggest concerns in palliative care for terminally ill patients is die the best way. I don't know if the word best is the best here, but die the best way possible. Die with dignity and comfort and with the less suffering possible. That's our major concern for the most the patients with fewer life expectancy, with fewer days of life expectancy. When we saw the COVID-19 arriving for us, we said, oh, we are not going to be able to offer this to them. Oh my God, what are we going to, you're going to cut this, okay? In this edit.
Let's
Please.
see. No.
Don't
You're
make
doing
this
well, don't worry.
sound like Porky Pig.
You mean don't make it sound like you had the caipirinha and I had the coffee, right? That's what you're trying to say.
Yeah, exactly.
I get you. But this is not nearly as bad as you imagine it to be, really. Don't worry.
I'm just like Porky Pig. Oh God, no.
You're doing absolutely fine, really. So we were like, when the coronavirus hit Brazil, right?
Yeah,
when it arrived, you were very worried about...
we were worried that we wouldn't be able to provide this end-of-life care that we fight for, that we stand for in the healthcare, in the palliative care. So it was really a turning point that we had to discover ways of care, discover what should we do to provide the best care to these people. And then we started being surprised because actually the first 2 or 3 patients, our patients, those patients with advanced cancer, the first 2-3 that arrived in our hospital, they really died very quickly in like less than 24 or 48 hours. Okay. But then there was one that didn't die. And then he stayed a few more days, and then he stayed a week, and then 2 weeks, and then he went home. And then another one went home, and then another one. And some of them died, of course. Some of them died very quickly, but some of them didn't even have the symptoms of the COVID-19. We had patients with advanced cancer, metastatic cancer, sometimes lung cancer, and these people didn't have fever or dyspnea or any other, but they were positive for COVID-19 on the test, but they didn't have any symptoms. We were managing somehow, of course, that it's due to the light cases that COVID manifests. The disease also manifests in light cases that have not many symptoms or not many impact on the organism. But actually, we managed to deal with stabilize this organism that was dealing with both cancer and COVID, and provide this body a period of stabilization, of support for this body to react by itself. And these people were going home, still with cancer, but not with COVID anymore. And it was it was very grateful to see that it was possible, because we really thought that our patients would die like all of them, but it didn't happen.
So that must have been an amazing moment also of relief when the first people started going home, right?
Yeah, actually the first patients that we left home, I don't know how to say that in English. We say in Portuguese, alta. When they go home, they go alta. Yeah. So this first patients that went home, the crew, the staff from the nursery, they filmed the patients saying goodbye and saying that they were going home, because the professionals were very moved by this. So they wanted to take pictures with the patients and film them saying goodbye and waving goodbye and things like that. So it was very touching for everybody there.
I can imagine. With the fear you just described, and then seeing that, thank God, or, whatever deity, entity, life, whatever, that it doesn't happen. And you see that your worst fears are not actually coming to be. That must be an amazing relief. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
What is it like now?
Well, actually, we are quite amazed, because the last week we didn't get any new COVID case in our hospital. So it's a moment that we are like in suspension. We are just not move. Don't move, so it don't change. When you do this,
yes.
Don't breathe, so the things stay the same. Don't move. Nobody moves, so it should stay the same.
Hold your breath, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Because we don't know still if it's a reality for everybody in the other hospitals and everywhere else. But actually, in my hospital, we had the last 3 weeks. There's been a diminishing. I use this word. I don't know if it's correct, but there's been fewer cases of COVID the last three weeks, and this week we had no new case of COVID in the hospital in the last week. So it's a moment that we are very eager to see if it stands like this, if it keep this pace of fewer cases or days with no cases, and we are very looking forward to this things be real. For this, it's not just a week of luck. It's a real situation that the cases are lowering down, really.
So it's basically the numbers are not representative, or this new situation where you have no new corona cases or COVID-19 cases is not representative for Brazil, right? And it's maybe, is it
No,
representative
no.
for Rio though, or just for a certain area in Rio? How would you see that?
Actually, it's that's what I was telling before, because I wanted to give that huge introduction to give the context of my hospital, because I think it's representative of our hospital only, because huge part of our patients, because they have already advanced cancer, they lay in bed all the time, or they use wheelchairs and they don't go out very often. So it's a different profile of population. It's not a population that goes to work or goes to the market. They are a different set of population. So I think we cannot broaden any analysis of this profile of people to the big profile of population in Rio, because maybe this set of patients, they are not having new cases of COVID-19, but we cannot tell that all the society in Rio, all the citizens in Rio are in the same situation as they are.
And also, when you say that you have no cases, no new cases, is that for your particular station, or is that for the whole hospital as well?
Yeah, actually, my hospital, it has 4 yards of nursery, and they are all the same. They are just 4 floors of nursery. They all get the cases that need to be hospitalized. Hospitalization there is only for dealing with symptoms and dealing with some situations that cannot be dealt at home. The patients that are being treated with us that doesn't have any symptom out of control or doesn't have bigger needs, they are taken care at home. We have home care with our crew, our staff of professionals. They have in-home consultancy. The doctors, the nurses, the physical therapists, psychologists, social workers, they go to the patients' houses to assist them. And we have the clinic, the consultations that happen inside the hospital too. But some of those patients, when they have something that goes out of control, some symptoms, some pain or bleeding or nausea or some symptom that goes out of control, then they get hospitalized for as long as they need to be taken care of to stabilize again the situation. Then they go back home. So these 4 floors of nursery, they are for this situation. So one of the floors, when COVID-19 started, one of the floors that actually was my yard, so I was lucky of that.
Yes.
Yeah, my yard became the isolation yard for COVID-19 cases. So we just have the one floor that my yard separated for isolation of COVID-19 cases. And now this yard is empty.
That is fantastic. That is fantastic.
Yeah. I hope tomorrow when I get there, it's still the same.
Yes, of course, of course. It is nice to hear this from you, because the things we have heard happening in Brazil and everything, they were terrifying, and it is nice to know that there are some good news amongst all of this. So that's very wonderful to hear. Yes.
Yeah.
How would you describe the overall generation in Brazil at the moment? Is there also good
It's
news? Do you think it's getting worse? Like, what does it do with Brazil on a whole?
Yeah, the problem is Brazil is not one thing. We used to say that there are lots of Brazils inside Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
So the pandemics hit first mostly the big cities with international airports like Rio, São Paulo, Manaus, Fortaleza. They are the big cities with the international airports. It's where the disease entered the country. And so those cities, they are in a completely different situation now from the cities in smaller areas and cities in more deeply inside the country. We have a region in the country that we call the Center West. Nowadays, the Center West is one of the most hit region by COVID-19. And
Is it a very populous area?
not much, because it's a very huge area. There are lots of people there for sure, because there are lots of people everywhere here. But in terms of in terms of demographic distribution, we have the big cities, the big cosmopolitan cities. They gather more. They are smaller, but they gather more people than big cities in the inside of the country. So it's not that populous as São Paulo, for example, but still lots of people, and they are being hit by the pandemics now. It reached there now because it took more time to go to those distant places. And now that we are maybe experiencing a lowering of the pandemics in cities like Rio, but now in those areas of the country, everything is starting there now, and everything is blowing up there now. So it's very difficult to talk about what it is in Brazil as a whole, because these regions are very different.
Can I would imagine, with the little knowledge I have, and you will obviously correct me if I'm seeing this wrong, which happens on a very regular basis anyway. But if thinking of the many Brazils, could I say that, also you have areas obviously in Brazil where you have better healthcare, and you have areas where you don't have such good healthcare, and those areas where the healthcare is not as good are more exposed, and the cases are more numerous and more severe?
Actually, in many levels, because of course we can have the comparison that in the more metropolitan areas, the healthcare system is better structured than in the faraway areas, the areas that are not that urbanized. And then you have the healthcare system less structured there. But also inside these urbanized areas, the metropolitan areas, you have those differences inside those areas too. So inside Rio, of course, when we compare Rio, capital, to some city in the very deep inside of Minas Gerais, it's a huge difference of healthcare structure. But when you take Rio itself and then you compare the south area of Rio, that is the area with the beaches and with downtown, and then you compare it to the west zone of the city, that actually is where I was born. And those are areas with a huge demographic density, and they have less healthcare structures than in the areas that we call it the tourism areas, that the south zone, the center of the city.
So actually you have a lot of Brazils already just in Rio, right? I mean, Rio in
yeah,
itself is
sure.
just has so many different areas that are so different in themselves, right? Compared to
Yeah,
others.
actually, we have many Rios inside Rio. I was born, yeah,
Yes.
I was
Yes.
born in the west zone of Rio, and when I was a child, my street didn't was not covered with asphalt. You know, it was land. It's like I don't know how to say that. Well,
Mhm.
and I had like
Like dirt roads. It
chicken.
was dirt roads, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
And I had chicken at home and animals, and
Wow.
there was cows passing by in front of my door and things like that. And
Is
at
that
this,
still the case there, or has that changed entirely?
no, the place where I was born changed, but there are still places like that
But
in
not
that area.
where you grew up. So that changed within 20, 25 years to something that is entirely something different.
2025, sure, 2025. Let's deal with this number. Okay, okay,
Do
I'll
you see how
accept that.
carefully do you see how carefully I treaded there? Do you see how carefully I
Yeah,
tread?
sure, sure. Because it changed from my adolescence to here. Yeah, up to here. Okay.
That's what I was thinking. Exactly. That's what I was thinking.
Sure. Well,
That's a
but
fast change. That's an incredibly fast change, though.
yeah, yeah. The area, the street where I grew up, it changed, but there are another places nearby in the same region that are still like this. So we still
Hmm.
have this, and you always had the downtown, the center of the city, as some place very with the big buildings and the tourists and the airports, and at the same time, the same city, you have these areas where sometimes you don't have a bus line because there's no way to get there with the bus because the streets are not completely done and things like that. So it's very different reality.
Yes, well, the way you're describing it, I can imagine. And also, I mean, as little as I know, but I know, there's obviously the Copacabana, there's all the touristy spots in Brazil, in Rio,
Yeah,
and then you have the favelas. And I think that alone is just such different worlds that kind of coexist next to each other. Like I said, without
sure.
ever having been there and having all my knowledge just from hearsay and testimonial knowledge, from other people. But and from you, and also conversations with you, of course. But yeah, so I imagine it to be also very challenging for COVID-19, because I think if you wherever you are in Rio, there will be a chance you will either get better or worse treatment depending on where you are, despite having a health service that that is universal for everybody. Um, so I think it depends a lot on location basically as well, and where you are, right?
Yeah, sure. It depends because it depends on the access you can
Yeah.
have in which location to the health service, to the health system. But actually, we have something very positive in SUS that, of course, not all of them, but a huge part of the health professionals that work at SUS, they have more or less the same attitude of that I described before as being a Suzette, like people that, yeah, people that believe in the system, people
Mm.
that believe in this kind of work, people that believe that the SUS should work and should care for people's health in Brazil. So we have been witnessing a huge effort of all the health professionals in Brazil to deal the best way possible with the COVID-19. It's been really something amazing how health professionals in Brazil, in spite of all the problems, in spite of all the difficulties, they have been trying to do. I won't even say trying to save life because this is not exclusively on our hands. We cannot decide many times we cannot decide whether we're going to save a life or not, but they are willing to do the best they can with the resources they have. So it's really amazing to see the commitment of these professionals to what they are doing in the midst of a pandemics.
Yes, I think this is something that I hope will also remain with us a little bit, that we really see how important certain jobs are for our society, certain professions rather than jobs, and that we give them the value that they deserve. I think our societies very much lack true value for what is being done and for certain professions. And, to be honest with you, I think some sort of value and valuation of jobs does also lie in how people are paid for what they do. And I hope that
Sure.
this will therefore also, rise on the agenda a little bit, so that we also through this maybe reassess what we give importance to and what we don't give so much importance to. That's my hope. I do see nonetheless already, though, that now, in Germany, health workers are, they get all the applause, but when it actually comes to now raising their incomes, it is kind of already played kind of low profile again now. And you get the feeling that everybody hopes for it to pass so that those voices don't get too loud. So I do hope, though, nonetheless, that this will definitely further this conversation, this dialogue that we need to have in our society, what we give value to, and what really matters to us. And maybe this
Sure.
is one of the opportunities that this gives to us, at least. Can I ask you a personal question? Because we have obviously talked also about the palliative care that you do, and I find it, because, like I said, I have some secondhand experience with it, because one of my friends, ex-girlfriend, Moni, she worked on a palliative care station, and I have so much respect for that, because it's quite honestly, like, to see you do this every day, and then you also, you can't really share your work with others, because I mean, just this example, you go out to a party and people tell you what the jobs they're doing and what happened today, and then you go there, work on a palliative care station, and then you tell people about death. It's not exactly the best conversation starter. So I think you know that better than I do, right? So it's like you do something valuable, but at the same time, when you go out, it's not that you constantly get applause. I think you also very often run into some, like, maybe distancing, actually, a little bit. Would you agree with that, or is that just my imagination?
Actually, before entering the palliative care area,
Mm-hmm.
I had plenty of this just for being a psychologist, because when you're in a pub
Mm-hmm.
at night with your friend, and then a
Everybody
guy
thinks you're
approaches,
analyzing them, right?
yeah, and then the guy approaches, because in Brazil we do not take very long in the flirting thing. We are in the pub, someone sits by your side, and then you start talking already, and then it's very quickly, there's not
It's
so much.
beautiful. I love it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
great. It's
So
great. Yes.
you're in a pub, and then you have your beer, and then some guy approaches, sit by you, and start talking. And then he asks, "Oh, what do you do?" And then you say, "Oh, I'm a psychologist." And then he says, "Oh, well, you're analyzing me." Oh my God, no! I
Then you're
don't
like,
work.
what do you have to hide? Right?
No,
And then the
and
conversation's
I,
gone.
I don't work for free, and I don't work as I drink. So I'm not analyzing you, dude. So it was a bummer,
What makes you think you're so interesting for me to analyze you after just one exchange sentence,
Yeah,
as
and
well?
for free. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
actually, it's quite the same. You say that you do Actually, my friends, I don't have this problem now that I'm married. I don't have to flirt with anyone, so I don't have this problem anymore. But actually,
You
actually,
don't
my
flirt at
friend,
all? Not at all? I mean, just like a smile or something like that? Or is that, I mean,
no, because that's what I'm saying. Flirting in Brazil is something a little bit different. You
mm,
just sit beside and start talking, and then things go a little bit faster. So, but sure, you can smile, you can admire. someone
Yes.
that you find.
Yeah.
Sure, that's no problem. But I mean, this kind of this chit chat that you have to do before you go out with someone, and then you get to know, and what do you do? I don't go through these things anymore because because I don't need to anymore.
Of course. I get that. I totally get that, absolutely.
But actually, I
So
mean,
now,
my friends, sometimes I tell them some stories about the hospital, but depending on the story, it's the story that makes people stop talking for a couple of minutes, that mood killing story. Everybody was very happy talking about many things, and then I tell a stories about the hospital, and then everybody's like, okay, I'm gonna go fill up my glass over there.
I'm gonna go get another drink.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah. Well,
And
as long as they come back and you continue the conversation,
yeah, no,
I think that's fair
they come
enough.
back with another subject. When they come back, they change the subject, and that's okay. But when I go out with my hospital friends, that's when it's funny, because then we talk only about hospital. And it's very funny because we love talking about what we do. So when we are together, we just talk about what we do.
That's nice. I think that's also one way of just how can I put it, of processing everything that's going on. I think if you exchange it with your colleagues and everything, I think that's a way of processing it as well. I remember Moni, my friend, they also met. I think they had a morning circle, whatever you want to call it, like I think twice a week or something like that, on a very regular basis, where they just sat together and chatted about what was going on in their station and exchanged their experiences, which is something that really helped them process everything that was happening. So I
Yeah,
think that's very
actually,
understandable.
I have a profound admiration for the people I work with, because I really think I worked in three different hospitals. I worked first in a psychiatric hospital, and then I worked in it was not exactly a hospital; it was a clinic, but it was for people with skull and face anomalies, genetic anomalies. And then I went to work in the hospital with cancer. From all the hospitals I've worked with, these guys are the best I've ever seen. I think they are the the highest teams of healthcare professionals I've worked with. I admire them profoundly, and I get the feeling that everybody there loves very much what they do. So when we talk about our jobs, it's not just something like to pull it out of the system. It's pleasure. We love talking about what we do because we love what we do. So we talk about this all the time until it arrives someone else that doesn't work with us, and then we change the subject. But if we are together, only us from the hospital, we will talk about this most of the time, because it's really a pleasure to do this and to exchange ideas about what we do.
Yes, also I think because you share each other's motivation for what you do, and I think then it's easy to have a conversation about these things as well, and you can relate to the other person's reality. I think what it is that most other people cannot relate to this kind of reality, because death is really something that we push to the sidelines in our society. It's like kind of a taboo, you don't.
Sure.
I mean, we kind of know about it. We know that it exists, but nonetheless, we all try to pretend like we will live forever for as long as we can pretend it to be.
Yeah, and the
So
fake idea that it is always something absurdly sad and filled with suffering. And it's not
yes,
the reality for all the cases. You can follow a death process. These days where this person is starting to live their life, it can be beautiful. It can have many emotional reconnections with people. It's filled with other sentiments that not only sorrow and sadness,
That is, that is the thing I think you especially know when you are when you know death. What I would say is that you have an intimate knowledge of death through what you do, right? An intimate knowledge in the sense that it's not just a hearsay, it's not just, projection of things, but you are literally in touch with death every single day through what you do. So
Yeah.
what also would interest me, having this intimate knowledge of death, what is your relationship with it?
Well, I've never had problems with the idea of death, I always tell this story. When I was a child, I lived in this place with, it's like a small farm, and there were plenty of animals and stuff. And I had a bird cemetery under the guava tree. Mm-hmm. Every bird I found in the yard dead, I put him in a small box and had a small funeral for it. So there was a bird cemetery under the tree. Because since I was very young, I didn't have a problem with the idea of death. It was very intriguing for me, but it was not something that sounded like something unbearable or that should be rejected or denied at any level, And when my father got sick, I was traveling, and then I was traveling for carnival days. And when I came back, they were telling me, oh, it's a toothache. When I went to see them, just looking at them, I will not get into details here because it's very technical and stuff. But when I looked at him and I saw something that he had in his neck and some other information, I knew he was with cancer, and I knew it was an advanced cancer. And then I said to myself, well, my father dies this year. That's when he's going to die. And then actually he died 2 months and a half after that. And I had him taken care at the hospital I work with, the team I work with, receiving the home care assistance of those professionals that I work with. And that's what was important to me. It was not the idea that he was going to die. The idea that he was going to die, it was a fact. But I wanted to, because I don't deal with death as a moment. Death is not a moment. Death is a part of time that happens while you're still alive. When your biological body stops functioning, then death is over, as life is over. The period of death is over. Everything is over in that moment. But death is a period that happens at the end of your life. And it can take months, weeks, days, So this process of death, these days of death, they are the most important. So that we should take care of them. So I didn't have a problem with the idea that my father was going to cease existing here for us, but the idea that those days, those death days for him, should be the best we could offer. And that's what it was my worry to that he was in good hands in this period of end of life for him. And that's what I tried to offer him. So, of course, the day he died, we were all together. He died at home with us. It was me, my mother, and my sister together. And he died at night. We were there, the three of us with him. And it was very sad. We cried, and also we left and we told histories about him, and we drank lots of coffee, and then we drank the rest of the beers that he had left in the fridge, his beers. So that's the meaning of death, it's that you can care for this very particular period of the lifeline of someone. It's a unique period of this lifeline in someone's life. And after this period ends, that person will cease existing here together with us. But this period is life, belongs to his lifeline. So we need to care for this period of life. And then after it's gone, after the person is dead and everything, this period is done, then you remember, then you celebrate that person's existence, then you cry for the word you don't have, nobody in the world have, saudade. You feel saudade of this person. It's the feeling that you miss this person. And,
is that sorrow? Saudade?
Saudade with an U, Saudade. Saudade.
How would you translate that?
There's no translation. There's this word that just exists in Portuguese. Is the feeling you have when you miss someone or something, and you remember, you have memories of this person, and these emotions come together with these memories. That's what we call saudade. It's like instead of saying I miss you, we say I feel saudade.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that with us. That was amazingly poetic and beautiful. And when you said that, especially for me, that death is not a moment, but that it is a period of time. I have never looked at it that way, and it is a wonderful way of looking at it. And I feel it 100% now, the way that you've described. And what it brought up in me is that death, in that sense, is the possibility also for the person, him, herself, and his or her family to celebrate the value of that person's life. So instead of feeling the sadness, which is part of it nonetheless, of course, but to look at it more as a period of celebration than as a period of sadness, actually. And what you've just described, to me, in a way, enables me to see it that way and appreciate it for that. And that's why it is incredibly powerful and very beautiful. And thank you very much for sharing that with us, with me, with us.
Yeah, you're welcome. That's one of the stories I like to share because I think it's very meaningful. That's one of the things with my relation to death. I have no problem at all talking about this. Actually, on the other side, I really enjoy talking about the things because I think it's very meaningful. So every time
to be honest, yes.
Every time because when we talk, every time I talk about this, every time we talk about one of these histories that we've been through, it makes us get in touch with this again. So we feel the things and we relive some things. So it's very good to talk about these things. I really enjoy it.
Yes, and I think also only if we give death value, then we can have that celebration. You know what I mean? So it goes all, it's like one cycle basically. And we are not giving life a death value. I think we are giving only life value. I mean, I'm talking generally here, of course. There are different cultures where this happens differently. And
Yeah,
I'm obviously also someone who is very much affected by Western culture and so on. But here we don't see the value of death. We look at it as something we would like to just, keep out of our consciousness. But if you give death value, only then you will also, after what you've just said, be able to celebrate a person's life with the support of that person's death and that period of time that death is for anyone. So that to me is really very, very powerful. Very powerful.
Yeah. There's something that I tell the families very often because many times the family or the patient or both They try to prevent themselves from crying in front of each other because they don't want to make the other one suffer. So they try to hide some feelings and they try to cry alone. And sometimes I gather them together and then I say that it's not a problem crying, but not because of the common sense of, oh, it's okay to cry. Of course it's okay to cry, but most than that, this crying is not about suffering. It's about love. She's crying because you matter. It's not, of course she's suffering, but we cannot prevent people from suffering in life. Suffering happens. It's obvious. We are not responsible for preventing everyone we love from suffering all the time because it's not possible. But this suffering, it's not meaningless. This suffering means love. She cries because of love, because she loves you, because you matter to her or to him or to whatever. So I talk about this with the patients and their families very often, that it's not a problem to express these feelings because these feelings mean love. These feelings are related to the meaning of that person's life in the life of the loved ones.
Yes, and I think also sadness helps us, for a person, helps us relate our own feelings and love to that person as well. So it is an expression, and like you said, directly connected, and therefore very, very important also to be able to feel sadness. And if we didn't want to feel any sadness in our lives or any suffering, then the only way to do that is to have no attachments in life. And
Sure.
to have no attachments in life means that you will live in self-isolation. And that, quite frankly, to me, cannot be the goal of life, right? And in my own personal experience, the things in my life that have not always been going smooth, like the little crises that I had to go through, were always the moments in my life where I personally grew the most. So if I look back now, and think of all things. And I have to also admit, though, I have not been in a position where I have really lost a loved one. This is something, when it happens, is something that I will have to then see at that moment in time, how I deal with it. But generally speaking, with all the other things, those moments were for me the most powerful ones, where the most mind-shifting realization set in, and really where I grew on a soul level, like the biggest. So looking back, I don't want to miss any of the crises. I don't want to miss any of the sadness. I don't want to not have any of the tears that I've cried, because they were all meaningful to me and they got me to where I am right now. And I think that goes for everything. And that, I think, also, without having experienced it, also goes for the death of a loved one, I imagine, at least.
You just remind me of something very funny. Actually, I know you didn't expect me
No,
to
it's
talk
good.
about funny.
I like clean cuts and, like, taking drastic curves. Totally good. I love it. So yes, please tell me. I'm all ears. But that's exactly as it is. Just quickly, that's exactly as it is.
Yeah, because
Life and death are so close together, and sorrow and laughter are so close together. So I'm very
yeah,
happy about that. Yes. So now tell me about the
and
funny thing you just realized.
yeah, because this relates to the idea of dealing with death in some other way that is not only about suffering. Because, well, people are going to think that I just deal with pop music because of the examples I'm having here. But you
No,
were
I don't think
saying,
anyone's thinking that. I don't think anyone's thinking
yeah,
that.
no, because you were saying, like, I don't want to miss this, I don't want to miss that, I don't want to miss. And then I remembered Bon Jovi. With that song, I don't want to miss it. No, it's Bon Jovi or Aerosmith. I don't want to miss a thing. I don't
That's
want to close
Aerosmith.
my eye. Aerosmith. Yeah.
That's Aerosmith.
And
Yes.
yeah. And then you said those things. I remembered the Aerosmith. I don't want to miss this thing. And then I remembered that my father died 2 days before my sister's birthday. And then when we came to her birth, when the day of her birthday arrived, I said, we have to celebrate. He died, but you're alive. So let's celebrate. And then we went to a karaoke, and me and her, we sang together this song I don't want to miss a thing. I don't want to close my eyes. I don't want to fall asleep because I miss you, baby, and I don't want to miss a thing. Because that's what
Nice.
happened. You know, my dad died like 4 a.m, and we were up all night because we knew that he was in the process of dying, and we were up just to be with him there. And then we sang Aerosmith in a karaoke on my sister's birthday, like something to remember my father by that year. So, and then you started saying, I don't want to miss this, I don't want to miss that. And then it came it all back to me, and I thought it was funny because, well, people will think I
Because it's
just
a pop
listen to
song.
pop. Yeah, it looks like I just listen to pop music.
But I mean, you can think about pop music however you like, but pop music also is so popular because sometimes it just drives a very simple thing home with a lot of force. It can be a very simple thing. It doesn't always have to be, Aristotle or Plato. It can just sometimes be a very
Aerosmith.
simple
Yeah,
line. And Aerosmith, exactly, with a
yeah,
good guitar riff and a good
yeah.
line, and it can be equally moving. To be honest with you, I think for most people would choose Aerosmith as well, and there should be no judgment there at all. And that goes for all other pop music as well. The question is whether you like it. Okay, is a fair question for you, but I think pop music in that sense is very, very powerful. Of course, it is. So
Yeah. So, and
also
for
for yeah.
someone that was a teenager in the 90s, it's I can.
We established that right from the start when you said that Pearl Jam hit
Yeah.
home quite hard with you just lately. Yes. I think I outed myself as well at the same time. So we're really totally in this together as well. Um, I have, I would like to move on just slightly from this because I think it's a very
Sure.
nice bridge because, like going from your experience in the hospital even to the death of your father and all my good wishes and my love goes out to him right now, really.
Thank you.
Like, of course, you're welcome. He enabled us to have this very beautiful conversation, so he should at least get an honorable mention, I believe. um I want to know, having all of this in mind, and I said in your CV as well, you came up with the idea of setting up a choir in your hospital. That is, and I'm just giving a bit of an outline as much as I know, and I would like to fill in all the many gaps that I'm leaving now. Where you meet with remote call technology, and you gather and you sing, right? And now please describe that project to us a little bit and your motivation behind it and also how you put it to work, really.
Okay. Well, this is actually not my project, but it's a collective project because I used to say that in palliative care we do not do anything alone. So our ideas are always collective ideas, and we do everything together. And we don't. There's no the English people say there's no I in team, isn't it? So that's our
Yes.
motto. Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
quite a popular saying. Yes, yes.
yeah, yeah. Because in Portuguese, the word it makes no sense because the words
It has an
there is
eye.
a knife. Yeah, it has a knife. It makes no sense in Portuguese.
Damn
So
it.
yeah. So, well, actually, what happened? The core idea is actually from the end of 2018, and actually, we have a patient that's been with us for a few years now, really. Actually, she's a cancer patient. She's been a cancer patient for the last 30 years. And she's already elderly.
Wow. Is
Yeah.
she in stationary care, or is she going home and coming back in, or is she with you
No,
constantly?
she's at home, and then she just come for the consultations because she
Mhm.
has a very focused cancer. Actually, she's in palliative care because we cannot take this cancer out of her body, but it's not a metastatic cancer. and it's not impacting on the functioning of her body as a whole. Actually, it's a facial cancer. This cancer is on her face, like on the right side of her face, and it impacts on one of her eyes and inside her palate. Is that in English? Is that the word? Palate.
Her palate, like on the inside of her mouth?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, absolutely.
So she had it removed because of the cancer, and she's around 70 years old, I guess, and she has had this cancer for the last 30 years. And she had done some surgeries, but it got to a point that she could not do any surgery anymore, and we cannot remove that. But she manages to live a regular life close to something that we could call normal, living with this situation. And well, that's one information about her. The other thing is that she's a very nice lady. She's a very dear lady. And the crew, the staff that cares of her in the hospital when she comes to the consultations, her doctor, the psychologist that consults her, the nurses, everybody likes her very much. And we have a chaplain. And this chaplain that worked with us in the hospital, he plays the guitar. And he likes music too. He likes to sing and things like that. And every time she comes to the consultations, the crew, the staff from the hospital, asks the chaplain to talk a little bit with her because she's very religious lady. And one day she told both the chaplain and the psychologist that one of her biggest sorrows was that she was a lead singer in the church choir, where in the
Choir.
church, my English is awful. In the
No,
church.
it's not at all. I mean, the amazing things you've already shared with it. It's not awful. That one word is also a little weird. I mean, a CH, an O, an I, and an R. I mean, whatever, who came up with that? So yes, choir.
Yeah.
No, perfect.
The English language twists your tongue a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, just not like Portuguese at all. I heard that's like really piece of cake.
Sure. Well, we don't.
Yes.
We are not used to say things with our throat. You know, we say things with no throat. You know. Well, you know what.
That's
I mean.
true. You use a lot of the front of your mouth, pretty much,
Yeah,
right? For Portuguese. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
all right. Yeah. So.
But
fine.
well, coming back to the story. This you edit, and then we come back to the story.
No, I'll leave that in. That's for sure. That was very charming. Anyway.
Well, but then she told them that her very sorrow was that she wasn't able to sing anymore in the choir of the church because of this tumor affecting her palate, the mouth. And then she was very nasal. She sounds very nasal, you know. But she's a very dear patient, so the team from the clinic in the hospital where she is consulted, they decided to offer her an homage. They would prepare a small party for her in the hospital. I think it was her birthday or something like that. And they would prepare a small party for her in the hospital. And the professionals rehearsed a song to sing for her. And then the chaplain, he invited a friend of him that plays the keyboards, and she's a maestrina. And then she plays the keyboards, and she had a choir from a church too. So he invited this player with this small choir from a church, and the professionals rehearsed the song. And then when the patient came to the consultation, her doctor, she said, the doctor told her, well, it was going to be a surprise, but you're old and I'm worried about your blood pressure. So I'm going to tell you what's going to happen here today.
Probably a good idea.
Yeah, sure. And then you've had your medicine today, your blood pressure medicine today. And then she said, yeah, I have here in my purse. So I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. We had a party prepared for you, and we are going to the auditorium, because we did this in the auditorium. We are going to the auditorium to host this party for you today. And then when she came up, the professionals sang to her the song they had rehearsed. And then the maestrina with the keyboards and the church choir, they sang, choir, yeah.
We know by now what you're talking about anyway.
Yeah. And then the choir sang a song from the church that he knew, and then she sang with them. And that it was a moment when she could sing again with the church choir.
Wow.
So
wonderful.
Yeah, and then there was cake and flowers and lots of things for her. Everybody filming, everybody taking pictures. And then she tried to make a speech, because she really has some trouble speaking because of the tumor. And there are some words we have some difficulty in understanding, but she can make herself comprehensible. And then she made a small speech, and then she said that 30 years ago when she got cancer, she asked why she was having this disease, why did she have to have this disease? And then she says, 30 years after, now I understand why I had to go through this. It was to be here in this moment with you guys.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very touching. Yeah. And then
that's also, just quickly, that's also one of the things, we always look for all the answers in the moment right now. And, sometimes just thinking through the example you just used, that we will get the answers, but it just doesn't have to be now. Sometimes can also put your mind at a little more ease, maybe. And this whole, I have to know now.
And maybe we will never have this clearance to see 30 years after that we had received an answer for something. And it's not always that we can have this insight, that she had.
Yes.
So
obviously not everyone, and it depends on, every life is different as well, but it's a comforting thought to think that some of the answers, maybe not all of them, maybe you get all the answers in death. That's how I like to think of death, actually. Maybe not all the answers, but like that veil is taken off and you see clear. But that's a whole other very long conversation.
Then we have a podcast about this.
Yeah, exactly. Today we're exploring heaven and the concept of it. Yes.
Well, you should see that Netflix series, The Good Place.
Oh, I haven't. Is that good? Do you recommend it?
Well, I teach ethics in the residence program, so I really love that series. So it's amazing because it has all the ethical dilemmas about life and death and about what is being a good person, but in humorized ways of discussing.
The Good Place.
Yeah.
The Good Place. I will link to that. That sounds very good. I should check that out.
I used it in some of my classes. I used the series, this TV show in my classes sometimes.
That's very nice. And you do that, when you fail to prepare something else, or? That's sometimes that's sometimes the impression I had in school, when teachers came and brought out the TV and the video recorder, which we still had at that time, a video recorder. How old does that sound
No.
now? That they hadn't prepared their lesson, and they were like, "Okay, we got this movie for you today." Anyway, I'm sure with you it's different. Sorry, I don't want to discredit the work you're doing there. That's terrible. I take that back.
No,
Yes.
actually, I don't teach classes where I stand still talking for like 4 hours in a hole and everybody's sleeping.
Thank
So we have
God
to use
for
other
everybody.
instruments, other resources to to engage the youngsters in the classes.
That sounds like fun lectures. Why can't lectures be like this all the time? Anyway.
Yeah.
So now not moving on, actually expanding on that. But how, from what you just
So
described with that patient of yours, how did the choir project then arise?
so yeah, then in that same day when this homage happened, when it took place, I went to talk to the chaplain because he has these contacts with this persons who belong to choirs and who sing in churches and things like that. And then I went to him and I told him, Bruno, we want to sing. Everybody is extremely engaged in this event here. And of course it is because of the patient, because we like her a lot, because everybody is very fond of her. But also we want to sing. We people here want to sing. And then he said, okay, let me see what I can do. And then he talked to one of his friends that is a maestro, and he rehearses choirs in companies and things like that. And the guy liked our idea of rehearsing a choir in the hospital. And then I think we started the first meeting of the choir was like the beginning of November or last week of October, something like that. And in the second week of December, we were already presenting ourselves in the halls of the hospital, singing Christmas songs in the hospital, like with 1 month and a half of rehearsing, but we were very confident that we can sing. So, and then
That's beautiful. Where did you sing? Was it in the entrance hall, or was it somewhere, like where would that take place?
In the first presentation, we sang 5 times because we sang in the, because my hospital stays in the same terrain, in the same, well, there's a building next
area.
Yeah, in the same area. Mm-hmm. Because I told you
on the same ground.
Yeah. Remember, I told you when you were describing my hospital, you said there was 4 units of healthcare assistance. So 2 of these units are in the same area. They are buildings one beside the other. So there's another unity of INCA quite beside my building. So there is an open area where the ambulances come and go, and people who are coming to the both building, they gather around there. So we did the first presentation in this open area that shows for the both of the buildings. Mm-hmm. And then on my building, on my unit, we sang in the 4 floors of nursery. So we sang 5 times in the same day.
Wow.
It was our first presentation because we were so excited that this was happening. And then we made T-shirts, and there's and then this is my how do you say? This is something I made. This is my
your creation.
Yeah, my creation. The name of the choir.
Yes.
And then what happens? We have a song, a very known song in Brazil. And this song has a historical meaning because it's a song made for one of the song festivals that happened in Brazil in the 60s, when we were in the middle of the military dictatorship and things like that. And it's a song that talks about freedom. And the name of this song is something in English, it would go like walking and singing.
Mm-hmm.
In Portuguese, it sounds like caminhando e cantando.
Mm-hmm.
Because the song says that we go walking and singing and follow the song, and then there's a sense of freedom. It's a song about freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And then
so it was a bit surreptitious, obviously, because you couldn't say, and
yeah,
which is
sure.
also, I will link to Leo's interview as well, because this is also when, despite this crisis, the military dictatorship, like Brazilian song really also flourished, right? Because it was where they found expression for their resistance and freedom.
Exactly. And then it's a very emotional song. It's one of the songs most known in the country. Everybody knows this song, and it's like something very meaningful historically for the country. And then it sounds like in Portuguese, caminhando e cantando. And then we are palliative care crew, okay? And then the act of palliating, when you do palliative care, you're palliating. I don't know if you say that in English, but in Portuguese we say. And then it sounds like palliando. And then as the song is caminhando e cantando, walking and singing, and then the choir is called palliando e cantando, palliating and singing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice. Very nice.
So
that's a very nice name for the choir. That's great.
And then in the first presentation, we already had T-shirts of the palliating and singing. Everybody was very excited. It was so fun.
You also described that very well, basically. Like the name, I totally get it. It's fantastic. You just also described it really nicely, how the name came to be. What long was one of those presentations?
How long you mean? How long it lasts?
Yeah. Time-wise, exactly. So you said 5 times, right? That day for
we sang 3 songs in each presentation.
Mm-hmm.
So it was 15 songs, 3 songs,
wow.
5 times.
Wow, that's quite a lot.
Yeah,
amazing. And now also during the Corona crisis and everything, you maintained that, right? So after it was found and you did your first presentations, this was a regular event. Did you regularly meet and rehearse and had performances?
We met twice a week because there are some people in the hospital that have daily hours of work, and some people have how do I say that? They are not daily there. They have the shifts. That's the word I want. So then we have two days of rehearsal in the week, so that the shifts people can choose the shift, the day when they are in the shifts for work. So we have these 2 rehearsals per week. Not everybody in both of them because of the shifts, but just to gather the most people possible in the rehearsals. And we've been doing this since the end of 1918. And then 1918, oh my God, I'm still in the last century. Yeah, 2018. I mean, 1918, like 100 years back.
I was about to say, no wonder that when you had been born and were growing up, there were still cows and stuff in the street. That's more than 100 years ago. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2018, right? 2018.
I was in the release of Freud's books and things like that. Okay. Yeah.
Well, not sure what that says. I will definitely page through it a little later on. Yes. So, so
Okay.
2018 for everybody. Yes, to be sure.
2018. Yeah.
2018.
I'm giving you a lot of stuff to be edited. Yeah.
I'm right now in my head. I'm not doing any editing. I find the conversation to be flowing and very beautiful. Just so you
Good
know.
one.
But fine,
Okay.
if you want to edit anything out, you have to let me know. And then just to make sure that everybody who listens to it understands that you made that choice, I will just leave a gap of silence for however long you decide to take out. Like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever. It won't be very listenable, but at
Okay.
least people know it was your choice, right? So anyway.
Okay. Well, it's
Yes.
your public, so you should have know what they want.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. Yeah, okay. I might have to choose differently. Anyway, I'll worry about that later. So since
Okay.
2018,
Well,
that's a
now
long time.
we've
Well, not as long
been
as 1918, but still, it's 2
no
years. And
2018, and
and then
then we had presentations inside the hospital in events like Mother's Day, blood donation campaigns. The Easter Day and things like that. We schedule presentations in this events day. And then at the end in November, last year in November, there was a Palliative Care Congress in Rio de Janeiro. And then they called us to sing at the end of the Congress. We were the final attraction of the Congress. We are the final presentation in the Palliative Care Congress in November last year in Rio de Janeiro. It was the first time we sang outside the hospital, and everybody was very excited. And also, on this presentation we made in the Congress, we took our patient, the one that started all this. She went with us, and then we told the story, and she was very touched. She was very thankful that we acknowledged her role and the importance of her for the existence of the CWA. And then she got flowers there. She was very emotional and crying and stuff like that because she was very happy that she was in the Congress and people were there applauding, and because of her, everything started like this. Yeah.
Well, understandably, of course. Wow, what a woman! What a woman! Also, I mean, what a choir. All of it applies, but that's a beautiful origin story, if you will, of the
Yeah.
choir. So then you traveled, but you had these also, regular like performances, and then Corona came. Right now, it would be very
Yeah.
easy to say, because of Corona, sorry, we can't practice, we can't do it. But something triggered that you would do it regardless, despite of it, and maybe in spite of it, and make those gatherings, rehearsals, and performances nonetheless something ongoing rather than a thing of the past. What triggered that? How was that a communal decision, or how did that come about?
Yeah. I think this choir means a lot for the people who participate, who takes part in it, because it's a choir for professionals of the hospital. But as I told you before, we do nothing by ourselves in the palliative care, and we acknowledge the role of absolutely everybody in our work. So this choir has health professionals, but also have people from the reception, guys from the administrative area, and technicians, and everybody in the hospital, anyone, literally anyone, the cleaning ladies, anyone in the hospital can join, and sometimes joins us in the choir. So it's very meaningful for everybody that is there. And it also gathers those people together, makes them more close to each other, makes them acknowledge the presence of each other in the work environment. And some close friends of mine that are in the choir, they say that this moment is the moment where they do their therapies. It's a weekly therapy to be in the choir, to be rehearsing. They relieve stress from work. So the choir became something very meaningful to everybody that takes part in it. So when the coronavirus arrived and many people left work because had health conditions and then couldn't be in the hospital environment, and then we couldn't gather lots of people in the same room. It was forbidden and things like that. But obviously we have a WhatsApp group for the choir. So, because everything has to have a WhatsApp group. So, yeah.
Yes, it's one of the foundation rules of anything these days.
Exactly.
You have a WhatsApp group. Exactly. I know.
So, when the choir stopped meeting because of the pandemics and we still didn't know what to do with it, but the WhatsApp group never stopped. Everybody was talking there all the time because it was a group that was not only fit for the moments of the rehearsals or to schedule the rehearsals. People kept exchanging in this group. And also, at the same time the pandemics hit, our maestro got a baby. Her wife gave birth to his baby. So he couldn't be at the hospital in the first weeks because she was in labor, and then she gave birth to the baby and the baby was very small. And now, because we don't want him to be exposed to the hospital environment with the small baby at home and things like that. So it was like, we didn't think of rehearsing or getting back with the choir for like a couple of months because of all this situation. But then this movement in the WhatsApp group, people started sharing links of other choirs or those musicians that are doing lives on the Instagram, on Facebook. And then those videos showed people playing together, everyone in your own homes, in your own places, in their own places. So everybody started exchanging these videos in the choir group, and they started saying, well, we can do something like that because those guys are recording music, are singing together, are playing together, and they are not together. Everyone is in their houses, and it's possible. So let's. And then it's like when you have a trail of powder, and then you set fire on it, and then it goes like, okay, we can do it. We can do it. We can do it. We can do it. So we can do it. And then the maestro said, yeah, let's do it. And he was very excited about this too. So he gave the orientations. He recorded audios of the voices that each one should sing in. And then he instructed us how to record it, how to listen to the music and sing together and record it and etc. And then we sent him the videos, and he edited it, and then it was that beautiful thing you saw.
Yes, it is really very beautiful. And before I just carry on, is there actually a web page or something where we can find those videos, those songs that you sing? Is there anything available?
Yeah, I created an Instagram for the choir. It's actually
very good.
Yeah, it's
I'll link to that.
Yeah, actually, there's only a few things because as I created the Instagram, started posting things, and then the pandemics came, and then I started working as crazy, and then I, I couldn't post things on the Instagram as frequently as I would like. But this video is there on the Instagram, and then I will futurely I will post more things about the choir in the Instagram.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. I because what I've seen is two videos, and they were just very beautiful. I like it because it also feels a little bit like you are really at work and doing it a little bit as well. That was my feeling. Like you're just it likes also feels like a spontaneous gathering, which I think is wonderful. And you know what you just said and told us is also nice in the sense that I can relate to it because that's what I felt during the Corona crisis as well, which is actually ongoing. I mean, it's not that like it's over. Who knows if it's ever going to be over in
Yeah,
that
sure.
sense? But that there was this chain reaction of creativity almost. So like I saw things, for instance, that really inspired me and that I felt was so beautiful that on the other hand inspired me to start this podcast, right? And I imagine
Sure.
this to have been the case for a lot of um, decisions, for a lot of creative decisions at the time, for people doing something that they had never done before, to venture out there and try out something new. And this is where I feel the opportunity lies in these crises as well, to do something like you are doing with your choir and gather and sing and do something that is life affirming and doing it in spite of a pandemic. uh, that is really for me the essence of the human spirit that's being expressed through what you are doing, and that's the beautiful thing. So there is also something beautiful growing while all of these terrible things are happening at the same time. So, having said that, I would also like to know from you as a psychologist, right? And somebody who I've also learned now teaches ethics. How do you think art can contribute in a time of crisis? What is the value of art in a time of crisis?
Well, actually, I will answer this not only as a psychologist or a professor
Please,
of
also as a
ethics,
human
but
being, that goes
no, but
without saying, hopefully.
yeah, no, but also as someone who is, that I am the black sheep of my family. I don't know. Do you use it
I did
this
not know that.
expression?
When I
Oh,
met you, you felt like the white sheep of any family, if I might just say so. But
sure,
you
definitely
know,
not. But because we have this expression in Portuguese, it's the
Mhm.
black sheep of the family.
I think that's an
Because
expression you almost have in any language. I think this is probably one of the most generic expressions. It's amazing. This is one of the things I think you will find in any language. Yes. So you
yeah,
are the black sheep. Interesting. Tell us more. Yes.
yeah, because my father's family is a musician family, and my grandfather was a maestro and music songwriter, composer, and I have my elderly uncle is a maestro and composer, and I have cousins. There are composers and songwriters and musicians, and even the ones in my family that are not musicians as professionally, but they play piano. My father used to play like 3, 4 instruments and things like that. I am the only one who cannot even play, I don't know, children's guitar, those small ones that are
Yes.
for fun.
The ukulele, you mean?
Yeah, no, the ukulele is very hard. It's a very difficult instrument to play.
Sorry. Yes.
Actually,
I knew that, of course. I mean, which is why I'm so bad at it, I suppose.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I can even ring a bell. I really cannot make sound with anything with any
Wow,
instrument
that will
at
make
all.
it difficult for you to gain entrance into any kind of building if you're really even terrible at ringing a bell, right?
Yeah, I can clap hands.
Yeah, good luck with that in a loud urban city.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah. Okay, but
yes.
that actually, music is something that is in my family always has been, even because this is my father family, there's musicians, but in my mother's family also, I have my aunt, she played the guitar when I was a child. She played the guitar always, and everybody plays something but me, So I will answer this as someone who is frustrated because doesn't play anything, and everybody in the family plays and are musicians and things like that. But actually,
All right.
music is something very important to me. And I have a deep belief that one of the things that I study is communication. And I deal with the spoken word as the idea of sound, because we when we say things, we project the sound in ways that they must mean thing, not only because of the meaning of the words, of the letters that we put together and become words, but because of the way that we temper the sound, the strength of the sound, the equalization of what we say, how we say, the tone that we use, the tone of our voices. And then I really believe the sound is a very important element of our ability to communicate, and our ability to communicate.
Absolutely.
Our ability to communicate is deeply related to our ability to care. We care of each other because we can relate to each other through communication, through our ability to communicate what I feel and what are my needs and what is my suffering. And then the one that communicates back to me offers me care because of this. So music is something that is part of our souls. It's atavic. It's something that is before our abilities of verbal communication. I mean, in the species development, before we were even able to communicate with these sentences and lexicas that we created, we made sounds and we made music, and it's touching. It's archetypical,
Yes.
So I
think not only music but art in general, right?
Yeah,
Is kind of that. It's throwing us back on patterns that are removed from language, which is something that is a lot more man-made and created. Not to discard language. I also love language, but it is also man-made, and in that sense also in itself, one form of semiotics that doesn't engulf everything that is out there, and has a level of complexity that other art forms maybe don't have, right?
Sure. Yeah, exactly. Art is a form of expression that deals with archetypical structures of human beings. So it touches areas within us that many times are not accessed by consciousness or by rationalization or by our rational selves. And then it touches us deeply, and it touches us in a ways that we cannot, it's not on our hands to define how we are going to react to that. It's something deeper. So I think art is fundamental in any moment of life, but especially when we are dealing with tragedies and crises and such difficult moments when the suffering is all around. The suffering is intensified by many elements that gather together, and we cannot deal with them, things that are not in our hands to solve, as the pandemics, but we have to live through some situations that we cannot do anything about it to change exactly. But then art comes to make it bearable, to give meaning to these things, to these moments. and to give some sense of, well, okay, it's worth it. We'll go on living because there is a worthiness in the life, because we produce those things that touches us deeply. And
like your patient, basically, who realized the value of that moment and the past 30 years through the performance of music right in front of her, right?
Exactly.
That is,
It's meaning. It provides meaning, even that we cannot put this meaning into words many times, even if it's a meaning that doesn't go through our rational self, but it provides meaning.
is it maybe because it breaks with the known patterns and therefore maybe enables us to have insights that we wouldn't have any other way? Language is a pattern that we're confronted with every day. You know, that's what I mean. And art breaks with that.
Yeah, I think that too, sure. But even there are things that we can even express. How do you felt about this play? I have many of these moments. Sometimes I like better theater than cinema. I'm sorry, friends from cinema and my husband. But
yeah, I'm sorry, friends from the cinema. But Mabelle clearly thinks that you suck. I think that's what I take from that. Yes. Anyway, yes.
No, because I love the theater experience because it's so alive there in front of you. I feel integrated to what's happening right there in front of me. So I have profound experiences in theaters, and it happens very often to me when I leave some play or even some movies. When I leave the play, I don't have anything to say about it. And actually, I don't want to say anything about it. I just
because it would ruin it, right? It would kind of spoil it.
Yeah, I just want to keep the feeling that I'm having about that. So sometimes it's not even about something that you can rationalize about, because to say it, you have to rationalize it. You have to put it into words. And sometimes you don't even have to. It touches you deeply, and that's it, and that's the feeling. That's it. That's the meaning. That's the producing of meaning. You don't have to be able to explain it, but in some place within you, it had the meaning that you needed in that experience with the art. So I think it's something like that.
Yes, I think what you're saying and what I is that it has I mean, or adding on to that, I'm not saying that I want to say what you said, because I think you said it very well. Is that it has that it's an emotional wisdom that it creates on top of reflective wisdom, you know. I think that's, well, at least that's also what it is for me, that to realize we try to, but you know, I do, and I think to a large degree the rest of the world does as well. We're trained in understanding the world with thought, with language, therefore, as well. And art enables us to break with that pattern, as I said, and to give us back the value also of emotion, of emotional insight, which is at least equally valid, in my opinion, if not sometimes even more valid, because I realize also more and more in the times that we live in, there is so much information out there, so many words for so many things, right? To understand what is right and what isn't right, what is truth, what isn't. I mean, if there is anything like truth, I'm starting to doubt it more and more the older I grow. You know, it's a question of not so much anymore for me what do they say. It's not always an intellectual question for me. A lot of it lies more in how do they say it. How does someone say something? Do they say it with rage? Do they say it with hatred? Or do they say it with calmness and with integrity? And that to me is at least as decisive as what they are saying. And that to me, I'm saying that because that is also a kind of an art form in communication. And this brings us back to where you said the tone of our conversation this is what you started with this when you talked about art and its contribution, right? The tone to me has become a lot more important than the actual content, than the known pattern, the words that are behind it. But how people are saying something. And I think this is what goes for art as well. Like, that to me has become very, very powerful.
Sure. And
So that ties in
actually,
with what you're just saying.
yeah, and as a psychologist that works with the Jungian theory,
Yeah.
art, the idea of art as something that is bigger than the individual. The art is talking about something that embraces or that crosses all of us. It is inside of all of us. That and then someone is able to express this universal experience that we all have in some place within us. So I think that's why art is so universal. Like in the idea, the emotions that art evokes on us is something universal, you know.
And that's the beautiful thing about art as well, is that it is actually readable for everybody, regardless of the language they speak. Isn't that also beautiful? That is the really beautiful
Sure,
thing. And I think that's why now during, the Corona crisis, art to me has also become so meaningful because it connected me with people all over the world. Right? We all share the same experience on very different levels, though. This is something I think that has been established. Just because there's a pandemic in the world doesn't mean that we're all equally affected. On the contrary, actually, it just shows us more and more the differences in our societies. But that is the thing about art. It's like it is universally readable in most of the cases, or in a lot of the cases. Painting, okay, not all of it, I understand. Poetry, but music, there are a lot of art forms that you can relate to, and you don't even have to know the words for a song. It can
sure,
just be filling you up and be beautiful without understanding what anyone is saying. And that is
exactly.
powerful. And we
Yeah.
need that because we live in a globalized world. In order to relate to each other, we have to find ways to communicate with each other that touches us and that is authentic and open.
Yeah, and
Well,
definitely in my next incarnation, I will ask to come to Earth knowing how to play some instrument. Definitely.
that's that's good. But then it's never too late, right? I mean, you can
Yeah.
still learn. I mean, it's
Yeah.
really never never too late to learn anything new. I'm really in this stage in my life now where I realize that new beginnings are, despite all the questions that they bring up, which is a good thing, they're very powerful and they're very good because you
Yeah.
have to just reconnect with who you are on a lot of different levels, and they
I will have
challenge
to
you.
find my instrument because I normally I say that I have a epistemological block to learn guitar. I really cannot deal with that. So I have to find an instrument for me.
Maybe try starting with the flute. Maybe it's different.
Oh
That's
God.
It's small, it's portable. You can take it anywhere with you. It's I mean, just putting it
Yeah.
out there. Um, so I have two more questions, and if that's okay, and
Okay.
then I would. I think because I could do this forever. I think it's very beautiful. Um, I would like also to know, because I have you as a psychologist, right? At some point, and as a human being, right?
Yeah.
Can you give us an outlook from your side of how do you think this pandemic is going to affect us all long term?
Ooh, that's a tough
That's a
one.
loaded question. I know it's a very loaded question. That's why I kept it for the end, pretty much, right? Because I just didn't want to break down the door right away. But have you thought about this? Do you think there's anything like long term, and then also like on a global scale, actually?
Yeah, actually, I feel completely incapable of giving any provision about anything at the moment, but I can tell you what I would like to be the response, the human response to that, because
Then just quickly, then we can
yeah,
just throw together this question and the last question I wanted to ask you, because that was the question of what opportunities do you see in this pandemic, in this crisis. So maybe
yeah,
you
so
can answer them together then. Yes.
yeah, exactly. I think it's the same answer because I've been following lots of information about the pandemics. First, because I'm directly involved because I was working the yard of COVID-19 patients, and then I wanted to be the most prepared I could for dealing with these situations. But secondly, because I really like it. I like to be aware of what's happening in the world, of the researchers, what the researchers are finding, and the different opinions. So I've been reading lots of analysis. Some people saying that it's an opportunity for a better acknowledgement of the world's needs, of the human species needs in the world, of how the ecological issues must be improved and must be dealt with. So there's lots of opinions that are very optimistic in this sense, but there are other opinions that other specialists, they've been saying that no, it's not going to happen. Historically, we had never changed radically after any pandemics or any huge crisis like this, and those changes doesn't last long, etc. Okay, so there's no way to decide who's right about this quest.
Yes, there's always reason to be pessimistic. Actually,
Yeah,
sometimes it's a lot more difficult to be optimistic, of course. Yes.
yeah. But I have the impression that in the last years before the pandemics, there's been many movements of improvement in some areas of human relationship with each other. Like the feminist questions, the racism issues, and the relationship between the big countries and the development countries and the small countries in the world. Those things have been being questioned in some other ways, and I see many local organizations, local movements of NGOs, and I had to think to say that because the word here is on the contrary, is ONG.
Yes, that would definitely throw me off. Just
Yeah,
say,
it was a tough one. Yeah. So I've
well
been,
done, well done.
I've get to know some small NGOs here in Rio, for example, that are opening the spaces for people from the favelas, from people from the poor communities, from Black people, and for women, and it's been happening the last years. Like it's been taking very small steps, but it's been happening. I see some changes, and sometimes I think that those conservative outbursts all over the world are in part a reaction to this movement, because when you have a strong movement happening, then you have the reaction as strong as the counter reaction. So it's a very Jungian thought of energies
Yes.
that are opposite, the condensing of opposite energies. So
Everything is pregnant with its contrary, right? That's a sentence that I've used before on this show. Yes.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
it's very true.
So I've seen these things giving these small steps the last years, and maybe the pandemic period will reinforce, will give more energy to those things to stand up and make their voices louder, so these changes may be last more, not be changes that will vanish in a few years, but maybe it will give the impulse so that these movements can reach changes that last in the society as a whole. Well, that's what I hope it happens.
So that's actually the way I hear you say that. That's kind of a Newtonian thought almost, right? That every action has its reaction, every force has its counter force. So the stronger the crisis, the stronger the reaction to it as well, right? And there is an opportunity in that itself.
Sure. Yeah. I'm really hoping, I'm really holding to this idea. Yeah. Because as I told you, the Jung's theory is very impregnated with the physics of Wolfgang Pauli. So he has this idea, this logic of constellation of energetic nuclear. I don't know how to say that. Well, this idea that something.
But Pauli wasn't he in quantum physics as well? Wolfgang Pauli?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
No, it wasn't quantum physics. You see, my knowledge of him is very limited. I think it was just before quantum physics, right? It was about the electrons.
Yeah, but
anyway, you probably know. You know much better than me. Anyway,
not about physics. Actually, just about how psychology adopted this terminology of physics.
Yes.
That's
yes.
That's what I know. Well, but
that's much more than I know, of course. Anyway, yes.
Yeah, but well, it's this idea that you gather a quantum of energy and then you constellate its opposite with the same quantum of energy. So maybe we are watching movements like this. You have some movements, some progressive movements, some progressive steps taken by the society, and then it constellated its opposite very strongly to imbalance this, and then we have this crisis that maybe some opportunity to counter constellate it. I don't know if I'm.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Lots of words that I'm inventing words.
I'm still following, and I mean, if I can follow, then most other people can as well. I'm sure. So
yeah. That's good that I'm not trying to speak German.
Well, but I mean, with Jung, you probably have come across quite a lot of German terminology as well, I suppose, or not?
Yeah, the best German I know is just my surname.
What?
The most I can go further in speaking German is telling you my surname.
Yes. Yes, that is very striking. I know. Actually, I think on the first day we met, you pointed. I was like, yeah, that's Krieger. I mean, for everybody that don't speak German, and that's the majority, or I don't know, I have no idea. But Krieger is warrior. So in that sense, yes, it's a very strong surname. It's a very strong surname,
and I don't even know how to pronounce it in German, because I pronounce it like in Portuguese,
How do you pronounce it in Portuguese?
Krieger.
Krieger. Okay, in German you would say pretty much. Yeah, you would say pretty much the same. Krieger. Krieger. It's just like it's a little. It's a little. How can I put it? A little more in the back of your throat. Yeah, a little bit. I would say.
Yeah. But I don't know what to do with this R.
But to be honest with you, it doesn't matter, because you're Brazilian, and just it has a German origin, but it has been embedded in Brazilian culture ever since. So that is more than what it takes for a name to be considered Brazilian as well. It's nice to think of the origin, but it's so it has now become a Brazilian name, and I think that's also a nice way to look at it, because otherwise we keep on just looking at names and thinking of how people have come from somewhere else, and maybe then in the long term think they don't belong there or have not originally come from there, and it opens up all of that, like we just live in societies that have a wide variety of names because people travel, because people migrate, and they have done that forever since we have been living on this planet. That's why the first man was found in Africa and has made it all the way all over the world because they were travelers already.
And it's a huge problem here in Brazil because you have the idea that people with foreign European surnames are, of a higher species than people that descend from indigenous people or the descendant of the Africans and etc. It's a huge problem here yet. But that's the whole podcast topic.
That's a whole other podcast topic, and just also showing you something that could be maybe improved a little bit. That kind of thought towards anything that sounds different. Even though we also I think very much lose track what was actually originally at some point in a place. We don't really know anymore, but we think we do.
Sure.
So, I mean, now we ended with your surname, with Krieger, warrior, which I believe is very fitting because, I mean, not that you are a warrior in the sense that you work with empathy, you work with love in your daily profession, your daily work, but you have the tenacity and also the determination of a warrior in that sense, I think. And therefore, I think this is also a very nice way of closing it. And I have absolutely enjoyed this. This was an exceptional interview. I think we covered so many things, many thought-provoking inputs from you. You shared a lot with us, and I'm absolutely grateful for you taking the time and sitting down or lying down, because you're in your bed, as we learned at the beginning of the podcast, right? Which is probably why you lasted so long, and probably because you drank about 5 liters of coffee along the way. Is that safe to say?
Pretty much, yeah.
Pretty much. 5 liters, that's a good number in 2 hours, I would say. And I am very, very happy, and I'm very, very happy that you made it on the show and you joined us in the yellow van today, Mabelle.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for this invitation. It was very nice. I am a podcast listener. I listen to thousands of podcasts here in Brazil. I love them, and I never had the idea that someday I would be invited to be interviewed in a podcast. I think this is a really great experience. I'm very happy that you invited me. I'm very thankful for that. And also my international breakthrough. So
yes, that's what we're all hoping here. This will be your international breakthrough. And I can assure you, if it doesn't come through this podcast, it's not you, it's me.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Okay? And this marks the end of this week's episode of the Yellow Van Stories. All information about Mabelle and her beautiful choir you can find in the show notes, along with the relevant links to today's conversation. Thank all of you very much for coming along on the Yellow Van today. We hope you enjoyed your ride. If you want to support Fonzie with a bit of petrol money, you can do so on patreon.com/Yellow Stories. If you have your own inspiring story to tell, or you know somebody who does, get in touch with us on yellowvanstories.com, where you can also leave us your general feedback or ideas for improvements. The hashtags for the show, learning on the job and stronger together, are no coincidence. We hope to welcome you back next week for a brand new episode. We'll be keeping your seat and we'll be cooling that imaginary drink of your choice. Please note, a selection of teas and instant coffee is available as well. Until then, stay healthy, keep loving, and always remember, we're all in this together. Take it away, Jim.
Keep loving in the face of fear. Keep shouting that you are here. Talking about those ideas. Loving whether far or near. Oh, can you find your place was a dream I breathe. Gone loving man and those in need. And I know my attitude disturbs you, and so it should. And I know my fantasies are troubling to those like you. Took a very, very long time. But my message is clear. Keep living in the face of fear. Keep shouting that you are here. Talking about those ideas. Loving whether far or near. Loving in the face of fear. Shouting that you are here. Loving in the face of fear. Of your life, are you standing for your rights? It's the fight of your life. Are you standing for your rights? It's the fight of your life. Are you standing for your rights? It's the fight of your life. Are you standing for your rights? Keep loving in the face. Keep loving in the face. Keep loving in the face. Of your life, are you standing for your right?